Uh, Hi, my name is Carter Vavra, and I'm here to kind of give a solution to a problem that I know me and a few other Linux nerds that I know face, and that's having a device that can do it all. There really is, at least for me, no device on its own or solution that can do everything on its own. Because in order to have this device that can do it all, you need three things: compatibility, connectivity, and portability. So sure, you can get like a portable device like a laptop and put a Linux distro on it. Uh, but just running Linux, you kind of have issues with compatibility. You're not able to do all of the things that you want with it. Uh, Another like solution for that is connecting to a main desktop running Linux via like SSH or VNC, but sometimes you're not always going to have a network available for you to work on. And then of course, portability. Sometimes it's just nice to be able to put a device in your bag and then not have to worry about it for or worry about anything else than besides just having it. Um, and the solution that I kind of found to this problem was using a Raspberry Pi in conjunction with another device. Personally, I use it with an iPad Pro, and that I kind of feel solves all of the problems that I have with having a Linux device that can do it all. Because one, you have an iPad that is very portable and it's compatible with a lot of major softwares. You can take notes on it. You can do pretty much anything with it. And then in conjunction with the Raspberry Pi, you have a full blown like desktop Linux distro, which is really awesome to have. But the thing is, not many people know how to use them together. And that's kind of what I want to solve, is using a Raspberry Pi on the go as like a wired connection. So you don't need internet or LTE or whatever to SSH into this guy. You could just directly plug it into your iPad or laptop and just be on your merry way and being able to do all the cool, fun Linux things that you can normally do. So that's what I'm going to do today. Some prerequisites before I get started with like the actual demonstration of what I'm going to do. We're going to need some things. One, a Raspberry Pi. Currently, not every single Raspberry Pi can be used as a USB Ethernet adapter. So far, the only ones that can be used as this are the Raspberry Pi 3A, the 0 and all of its variants, and the 4. So if you have like a 3B or 3B plus or 3, then or any of the older ones, then it will not work for that. It's kind of unfortunate, but there are ways to get around it. I'm not going to be going over that, but just know that those do exist. And if you want to reach out to me for anything like that, then I'll definitely link you the resources to getting around it. But another thing that we're going to need is a machine to hook it up with. I'm just going to be using Windows, not because I prefer it in any way. It's just because my camera drivers work on Windows. So that's what I'm going to be doing the presentation on. Then we're going to need a portable device to kind of like take it around with. I recommend either a Linux laptop or a Mac laptop or an iPad. Your success with this and Windows may vary because some of the Pi devices, like the Pi 4, need a special driver to be recognized as an Ethernet adapter. And not all Windows Windows doesn't really know how to deal with it. So you have to find a driver. And I haven't been able to find any like working links to the driver. I found links to it, but they just don't lead anywhere, which is really frustrating. So yeah, definitely iPad, Macintosh, or Linux laptop is the best thing that you can use. Another thing that you need is a compatible USB cable. I know even more caveats. Just a regular USB cable won't always work for you, especially with the Pi 4. The first revision of the Pi 4 was built out of spec, at least this USB port on it was. So it doesn't work with every single USB-C cable. So you're probably going to have to either dig around in your bin of cables or buy one on Amazon. Anchor makes a really good solution for this. But today I'm just going to be using this really, really, really long cable that I use for VR. So yeah. Last thing you're going to need is a micro SD card and some software. Today I'm going to be using the Raspberry Pi Imager to write the Raspberry Pi image to the SD card on the Pi. You can totally get away with like Balena Etcher or DD if you're really cool and you're running Linux. But Raspberry Pi Imager works the best and it runs on Windows, Mac, and Ubuntu. So yeah, that's what I'm using today. And I think that's it for all of the setup. Oh, also on your device, you're going to need to have like a client that can SSH into the Pi. For iPad, the the software that I'm going to be running today is called ISH. It's on the App Store, and it's a full-blown Alpine Linux terminal on your iPad, but it can't do everything. That's why I'm hooking a Pi up to the iPad. So it's not a full solution, but it can SSH into the Raspberry Pi. So yeah, that is it. Let me go ahead and share my screen. See if we get the terminal up here. Perfect. So right now, I'm just going to open the Raspberry Pi imager. And this is normally when you would go ahead and pick out what OS you want. The Raspberry Pi imager has all of these OSs built in, but the links to all of the other OSs that you can pick are in the description, or like in the comment that I have in the workshop on our Discord. So you can just go ahead and pick Raspberry Pi 32-bit. You can also, if you want to unlock some more features, use the 64-bit version. I believe I linked that in the Discord as well. But you could just click that, choose storage, and then pick out your micro SD card. I have to plug that in. I'm not going to do the whole write process. I've already done that. Just for the sake of time, to know that you do that, plug in your SD card, hit write, and then wait for that whole thing to finish. And then that's it, at least for the setup. Writing the image to the Pi. After that, we have to do a little bit of additional setup in terms of getting the file system all ready for SSH and being able to connect to network at boot, so you don't have to connect a display or keyboard into your Pi, which is really, really handy. I wish there was a better guide for it, but sometimes you just have to figure it out yourself. And here is the drive that I have connected. I just plugged in the SD card via an adapter, and that's the file system that shows up. So first of all, what we're going to want to do is we're just going to want to add a file called SSH to the boot directory. Just SSH, done, that's it. So now the Pi will know to SSH at boot. Next thing, we're going to want network, so we don't have to connect a display, and that is right here. So we're going to want to create a file in the boot directory called wpa_supplicant.conf. Sorry if you can't see everything. I don't know how to resize the file, whatever it is, the finder for this. And also, I'm not going to be using any fancy text editor, just Notepad. It'll work. Should get that. And that basically just tells the Pi, hey, enter your network SSID, enter your password, and boom. I'm not going to show you mine because for obvious reasons, but you just put yours in there and that's it. These other lines just tell the Pi to update your config and then tell it to look to this file when connecting to the network. So let me go ahead and enter my my stuff real quick. Hopefully you can see that. All right, and then you just write the file, save it, done. So now the Pi has SSH and it's connected to network at boot. So we can just SSH into it right away, but there's also some other things that we need to do to get the Pi prepared for a Ethernet USB-C connection. Some more file editing, but not a lot. So first thing we're going to want to do is go over to boot config.txt, which I believe is right in the middle where all the C's are. And not at the end of the file, but right before the end of the file, you can just go ahead, or I guess right now it's at the end of the file. You add this line, DT overlay DWC2, and then immediately after that, modules load. That. Just make sure that's at the bottom of the file, or at least before the DT overlay, so it knows Raspberry Pi OS knows to load that. And that basically just gets the Pi prepared for, the USB Ethernet connection. And now I believe we are ready for our first boot. So what you do is you save this file, close this, you rip the micro SD card out of your PC because ejecting is a myth. And then you just want to go ahead and put the SD card in the slot and then plug in the Pi for its first boot. And SSHing into the Pi, we have to have the IP address, but not many people, know how to search the network. So there's, I think, 3 different mainstream ways you could find the Raspberry Pi on your network. One really easy way is just to go to your router's homepage and look through the list of connected devices and find the device called Raspberry Pi. There's another solution called Fing, which is an iOS and Android app. where you can actually just straight up scan your entire Wi-Fi network and it'll report back to you like what devices are connected. It's really cool. It's also a great security testing tool. So if you can monitor devices on your network, you can like ping it, you can trace routes, you can do all sorts of fun stuff with it. But really, you would just use that to scan and look for the Pi. I'm not going to do that because on Windows, there's something called the Bonjour service that you can download. It's a driver, also linked in the Discord. But you can download that, and instead of like looking for the Pi, you could just do SSH Pi at Raspberry Pi .localhost, and then you should be able to SSH in. I might have already connected to this earlier, so it might be mad at me. Connection fuse. That's it. Oh, see, this is why we type Raspberry Pi .local, not localhost. Sorry. There we go. So yeah, I've already connected this. If you ever see this prompt, that just means you have you've already connected to this and it's changed because I reformatted my SD card on it. So let me just go ahead and pull up that file. I'm opening my Finder in a different screen just for privacy / security. So yeah, there's going to be a file in your local. On Linux, it's somewhere else, but it'll tell you where it is. So you can just go, you can either edit it and just edit that one device out, or you could just delete it and start over. So yeah, I'm just going to delete it and then we'll try reconnecting again. And yes. And then you enter the password. The default password for every Raspberry Pi is Raspberry, but we're going to go ahead and change that for security purposes. Yay, we're to the Raspberry Pi. Easy as that. So now what we want to go ahead and do is we're going to go to sudo apt update. I don't think this will take very long for me. Hopefully not. Don't do sudo apt get update, especially on the 64-bit of Raspberry Pi, 64-bit version, because it can cause some problems. I don't know what causes it, but like you won't be able to turn on like VNC and just some weird stuff. So just go ahead and do that. Let it update and do its thing, and then we'll go ahead and do the go into the Raspberry config type of screen. Come on, you can do it. So yeah, it'll take a second, especially if you connected it to like a 2.4 gigahertz network. I always recommend when you're first booting up your Pi to connect it to 2.4 gig, just because not all Pis have support for 5 gigahertz connections, and it's easier. You can always change it later. So now we just want to go to sudo raspi -config, and we're going to do some stuff in here. First of all, we're going to change the user password because Raspberry is very insecure and it's the default password for every Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my custom password. You can enter your own. Hopefully I typed it right both times. I know this happens to me where I don't do it the right way. Come on. Hey, password changed. Cool. Then you want to go ahead and go over to interface options. And this is where we get to enable things on boot. I think the SSH file gets deleted from the Pi once it boots up. So we're just going to go ahead and, oh yeah, so it's just a warning about a weak security password. We're fine. We changed your password. That'll just enable on boot, besides putting the file in there every single time you want to enable it. And then we're also going to go ahead and turn on VNC. And since you did that apt update, it will go ahead and work. Last night, I didn't, in preparation for this, I just forgot to hit update, and it did not want to enable VNC. So this is just downloading the packages for VNC, so you can use that later. I'm not actually going to cover connecting to VNC on like your device, but it's kind of like SSH, but just a different tool. It's easy. So we'll just wait for that to go through. Let me check and see if I need to do anything else in the Raspberry config. Oh, you can also change your default time zone. I'm not going to be doing that, but I do recommend it just for internet purposes, because sometimes you'll visit a website. It's like, hey, yeah, you're not on the right time zone. You good? So I would definitely go ahead and change it to the proper region, which I think is EN-UTF-8 in the Raspberry config. But this works for now, so you don't have to do that. I'm not going to do it because it takes a minute, and I think I'll actually go ahead and stop the VNC script right now because I don't need it yet. Or no, it'll just keep going. It's going to ignore my control Cs. That's fine. So after that, we need to install DNS mask. DNS mask is what's going to kind of host our local internet connection after we plug the Pi in as an Ethernet device, and that will make sure the Pi has a network that we can connect to, and we can, edit settings. I'm just going to leave it at the default settings that I found in the guide, which I have listed in the Discord comment. And you can, and I'll let you know what you can edit, what you shouldn't edit, and things to personalize it. What some of the things mean, I can't tell you what everything means, but I'll do my best to kind of explain what I know. And this is really just not wanting to listen to me. Come on, man. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask throughout this presentation. Yeah, just feel free to interrupt, ask, and I'll go ahead and answer the questions that you have to the best of my ability. I really should not have set up VNC. This is an awful mistake. No, okay. So yeah, after that, basically all that we're going to be doing after this is just downloading, downloading DNS mask, which shouldn't take long, and then editing some more files. This is very file editing intensive, but luckily I have all things that you could just copy and paste from the comment. And oh, I forgot to mention what we're going to have set up by the end of this video. My bad. By the end of this video, you are going to have a VS Code server running on your Raspberry Pi without an internet connection. So you could just plug this into any of your devices that can recognize it as an Ethernet gadget, and then have your own VS Code server that you can program in any big boy language you want, like C, C++, Python, Rust if you're awesome. One of the reasons why I had hooked up a VS Code server to my Pi is I couldn't actually get Rust working on the built-in Alpine terminal just because, the CPU architecture is weird. Okay, yeah, thank you, VNC, for being done. So now we can go ahead and sudo apt install DNS mask. And like I said, that'll just go ahead and set up our network. If you are unable to find a Pi or a cable, there are some extra steps that you can do with DNS mask and host APD that will allow your Pi to create its own. It'll allow your Pi to act as like its own access point, so you can connect to it. It'll basically spin up its own network, but it won't have any, connections to the outside world, and you won't be able to give it a connection, which is the only real downside to it, especially if you're on a Pi Zero. There's other workarounds, of course, but the Raspberry Pi is an awesome device. You can do so many things with it. So now we're just going to create a file using Nano. I don't use Vim. I haven't learned how to do it, so please don't bully me. And right now, you can bully me later. But I'm just going to use Nano for right now, nano DNS mask.d/USB. Awesome. And then we're just going to add this line into the file. I'll try to explain what this does. Paste anyway, nobody cares. Yeah, auto USB 0, that just says that our default networking port is going to be that USB 0 plug on our Pi, which is like the main power plug. And of course, we're relying on the hot plug. Our interface will be static, which is really cool, not dynamic. And our address for the Pi will be, what file is this? This is the wrong paste. I was like, hey, this doesn't look right. So actually just delete this file, ignore that. Follow the guide that I put on here instead of going off script like me, and paste this instead. Yeah, there we go. Kind of the same deal, but this is just our DHCP range. So everything from 10.5.5.0.2 is like the IPs that we get to assign to a device. But I only have a maximum of like 5 devices that you can assign to a Pi. Realistically, you're not going to be able to get more than 1. But just in case you found like a crazy adapter for you to like connect multiple devices to the one Pi, there you go. You can connect multiple. If you want to do more, then just edit this number to whatever crazy number you want, but just keep it small for now because it's only a Pi. This has to do with, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think this is right, but this has to do with like how long your Pi holds credentials. I could be totally wrong about this, but I think if you set this to a larger number, your Pi will remember the device for longer. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's probably not it. And then this is just some stuff that I don't know what it does. So yeah. And make sure you sudo nano or just do sudo bang bang just in case you forget, because we are writing to the etc folder. But yeah. So now we create that other file with the content I was talking about. So we'll just do sudo nano. We'll get it right this time. etc. or whatever network / interfaces .d/USB0 for that USB port that we're plugging our Pi into. Then we just paste this line from the comment. I've already gone over this. Save it. Done. And then one of the last files that we have to edit is our sh file that's going to initialize all of the cool hot plugging USB stuff that we just did right now. So we're going to go ahead and sudo nano /root to make sure this is definitely a sudo and not a public file that you can edit, although I don't think you can, usb.sh. And then this is going to be a bit of a longer script with a lot of things that I'm not going to be able to explain, but there are a few things that you can edit and that are going to look really cool later. So yeah, it's a bit of a big list. I forget, can't scroll up. So this is specific for Raspberry Pi 4, just to let you know, because we're specifically making directories that are named after the Pi 4. So just in case, you know, we're just defining what USB protocol we're using. We're moving some strings and stuff like that into certain files. But here is the fun thing that you get to edit. This is just the serial number for your device. You can change this to whatever you want. I made it random. You could do whatever. I don't know. This is the name of like the manufacturer, which is me, Haxerman. It's not my real hacker handle. I don't want people to know my real hacker handle. It's my cheesy fake one that I have. And then you can name this whatever you want. This will actually show up on the iPad as like the name of the Ethernet connected device. So you can edit this to whatever you want. I'm just going to keep this the same because I've already edited this. And I don't know why this says max power. We have already underclocked the Pi just to make sure it fits within, you know, the power requirements for just a regular USB connection. So I don't know why that says max power. Probably doesn't mean anything, but maybe it does mean something. Then you could just change. I believe you can change these, but I wouldn't mess with that. And that's just some more configuration for the sh script. And then we can also restart the service to make sure everything's configured, or the DNS mask. And then, yeah, done. That is one of the last files that we have to enter in, and we have to make it executable. So sudo chmod +x /root /usb.sh. I always forget to do this, and it always makes me upset. But now that I have a guide written out, we have made it executable. So it will run at launch. And in order to make it run at launch, we have to add it to etc.rc.local, which is probably the best way to get things started at launch on a Pi, at least in my experience with sudo etc.rc.local. If you know how to do it, you could probably make a systemd script that will have it run at startup, which I think is supposed to be better, but rc.local works. You should probably nano. And that was not my IP address. I didn't dox myself. That was just the IP address of the Pi. So there you go. And then we're going to go ahead and add our root /usb.sh script to here. And if you want any program to start up on startup, you just add it in between the Phi and the exit. Just really anything before the exit. And that is pretty much all the configuration that we have to do on the Pi end in order to make it an Ethernet gadget. So you can go ahead and sudo shut down now, and then we can go ahead and switch over to our iPad, which I will do here in a second. I don't know if you heard like my Windows thing go boop boop, but that means the Pi has this connected, and we'll switch over to iPad. And I'm going to set it up so where I don't dox myself, which would be kind of cool. I highly recommend you purchase an adapter for the Pi to connect these to, so you can charge your iPad at the same time as you use it, because it will drain some battery. I don't know why there aren't 2 ports on a 12.9-inch device, but think different. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and connect this to an adapter so I can charge it at the same time. Then you get your cable that hopefully works. Mine's plugged into my machine. Sorry for ducking out of frame. And we'll just plug the Pi into the iPad. Look at that. Totally, it's great. Dongles, gotta love them. Hopefully in the future, I'll buy myself like a nice USB-C cable so I don't have to have a huge mess, but I don't know. And let me go ahead and share my screen on my iPad. If I can find Zoom, there it is. Yes, I'll stop the share on here and go ahead and set up a share for iPad. Yes, please. And it will start any second now. There we go. Hopefully that is up and running. And the Pi is not up and running. So this is kind of the hard part about doing things on the fly. Sometimes you can have problems that I think, no, Wi-Fi's fine. So yeah, let's just go ahead and plug our Pi back in, because sometimes it will take a full restart just to get everything configured. Shut up, go away. But once it does get initialized, it will actually pop up in your settings like as an Ethernet device, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I guess we just have to give that a second and wait for it to boot up if it wants to boot up. If it doesn't want to boot up, then we'll go ahead and we will see what the problem was. Live troubleshooting, gotta love it. Or maybe it's just the fact that settings doesn't want to pick it up. But whatever, it will show up when it's done. It just takes a second for the Pi boot up, especially because we've underclocked it so much. But yeah. Okay, well, we could try something else real quick. We could try pinging the Pi, which if it's going to be connected, because we set our DHCP address to 10.55.0.1, we could just do 10.55.0.1. And it probably won't return anything because I feel like something has gone awry. This didn't happen last night when I tested, but you know, that's the beauty of editing lots of things at the same time. Let me go ahead and check the script that I had up and running, or the script that I had for the video. I don't see why it wouldn't be working, but it is not working. Well, in any case, the Pi should still be connected to the internet, so we can go ahead and ping the Pi's address, which it will be ping 92.168.0.32. So yeah, it is connected to the internet, so we can do some troubleshooting on here just to make sure everything's all up and running and good to go. So we could just do SSH. If you're running ISH like I recommended, you're probably gonna have to do APK add open SSH, but I already have that configured. So just so you know, in order to SSH, you need to open SSH, and I believe libSSH, but I think open SSH installs that for you. So we'll go ahead and do SSH Pi at 192.168.0.32. Yes, I've already connected to this. So we'll go ahead and rm sudo rm/root/.ssh/known host. Sudo not found. Really? There's no sudo in here? All right. Cool. Well, that's removed. We'll retry that again. And there we go. We'll enter in that super secure password from before. Uh-oh. There we go. And now we can go ahead and see kind of what's going on here. What can we check? So sudo service DNS mask start. I think I know what I forgot. Yes, yes. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, I just had skipped over this in my excitement. So we're going to want to go ahead and nano etc/modules. And that's just, I don't know, a list of modules. So we're going to go ahead and add something called lib composite to this. And then control out. It's unwritable, really. Oh, because we're on the Pi now, we have sudo. Okay. No, shut up. Go away. No. And we'll just do sudo bang bang. And then we'll add libcomposite. Awesome. So now we will go ahead and sudo nano r etc dhcp.conf. I believe that will be a new file, and we'll go ahead and add deny interfaces USB 0. Cool. Yep. And that should have been the fix. And maybe we didn't even install DNS mask. No, we did. We did. Okay. So that, I believe, was the only two things that we were missing. So we'll go ahead and sudo reboot now, just to check. Go ahead and open our settings up again and wait for that to reconnect. Should take about 20, 30 seconds, around that time. And we'll go ahead and see an Ethernet device pop up. If not, then I'll do some more troubleshooting, but hopefully not much more. But yeah. And again, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to let me know during or after the presentation. Because I don't like awkward silences. And the Pi is not helping me out right now. There we go. Hey, it popped up. Okay, so see, Ethernet, Pi 4 USB device, like we named it. Yay. Oh, iCloud perfectly relay. Wow, fancy. So this is going to say 155.0.5. That is not the Pi's address. That is your address connected to the Pi. The Pi's address is 10.55.0.1. And then we'll go ahead and go over to our terminal. We can now ping it. Ping 10.55.0.1. Oh, look at that. We have a connection. So now let's try to SSH into it. So SSH Pi at 10.55.0.1. Ooh. Yes, and then enter our super secure password. And we have a complete local connection to the Raspberry Pi. Awesome. So from here, you can basically do whatever you want. You can VNC into it. You can add a bunch of packages. You have Linux on the go right now. But I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate probably the coolest thing that I've ever done with it, which is adding a VS Code server on it. And it does not take that long. So let me go ahead and do that. I think there's only like 2 or 3 commands we need to run it. So this is just to download the VS Code server package. And I don't think it really matters what version of Raspberry Pi you're on. This should work. Run it as an SH script. So yeah, that's the install. Once that finishes, we'll go ahead and wait and do some more things. Oh, and right now, the cool thing about this is that you do have the option to connect to the Pi to an internet. I don't really know how to get the Pi to, or the iPad to push internet connection to the Pi. I know on like Windows and Mac, there is a way if you can find those drivers, but so far, I don't know how, but you can still connect it to the internet, and I'm going to leave it connected because if it wasn't connected, I wouldn't be able to download stuff. But you could just turn off the Wi-Fi with like IP at ifconfig, WLAN 0 down, or etho down if you have it plugged in via Ethernet cable. But yeah, so this is fully offline, and I will push it offline after the VS Code server is installed just to demonstrate that we still have a connection to it. And I believe there's one more thing, but I didn't add it to the script. Uh-oh. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. Un momento, por favor. Has anyone, I don't know if anyone's tried this, using a GoPro as a webcam. For some reason, my NVIDIA drivers or my NVIDIA card will not work with it. It just doesn't want to. It just has a lime green screen of like death. It's not cool at all. Okay, this is all the Rust stuff. Man, I look up a lot of Rust stuff. Uh-oh, where'd it go? I believe, no, it's linked at the top. There we go. Yeah, luckily I left the link in the Discord comment, so don't know why I felt like searching for it. Keyboard's back here. Yay. One last command, and it should be a pretty easy one. Might not be the right one. Uh-oh. Oh, it's the wrong link. It's okay. This is fine. I'm professional. Okay. Fine. Be that way. Give me 1 second. Apologies. There we go. Got it. So 2 more commands. System ctl dash dash user dash dash not enable. So this is just to get the VS Code server to run on startup. You don't have to do this, but I'm just going to do it because I want it running on startup because this is probably all I'm going to use it for. And now we're going to nano. Yeah, this will be a public file nano home /pi /.config /code server and config.yaml. So here, just leave that at local. No. We'll just change it to 0 to 0 to 0 to 0. That's fine. That's what the guide says. Localhost should be fine. But just for the purpose of the guide, you're probably gonna want to change this password to something reasonable. I'll just change this to Raspberry for right now. Just so I don't type like my own personal password in there. And that should be it. Awesome. Then all we have to do is reboot the Pi and we'll have access to our VS Code server. So let me go ahead and do that right now. So sudo reboot now. Go ahead and clear that. We'll wait for the Pi to reconnect. And yeah, so if you've been following along, I hope everything has worked. Let me know if it hasn't, and I'll totally help you like try to troubleshoot it because I've troubleshooted this a lot. This is like the 5th time I've set this up. It is not it's not the easiest thing to get right on the first time, unless you're some really cool, awesome Raspberry Pi guy, which I try to be. I'll just wait for that Ethernet connection to pop up, and that's when we know we're good to go. I wish the Pis would boot up a little faster, but I mean, they're tiny and they're cheap, so and they work really well. Yep, there we go. Ethernet device is connected. Then we can probably go ahead and switch over to like Safari, and I think already. Yep, there we go. Oh hey, wait for this to connect. This is just the local address of the Pi, and just for demonstration, I'll go ahead and kick the Pi off of Wi-Fi. Pi at 10.55.0.1. I'm pretty sure you can like alias. So instead of 10.55.0.1, you just say Pi or whatever. I think you can like do some echo command, but I don't care. Just turn off Wi-Fi basically. Yep. I'll go ahead and see if we can connect to the server. Hey, there we go. So we're met with a password screen, and all we have to do is just go ahead and type in our password, which is Raspberry, and submit. Look at that. Oh, it's taking me back to. That's kind of impossible. Okay. I don't have Rust installed. I was doing this last night, but for some, I guess the browser cached this. But yeah, from here, you could basically change your color theme to something easier to look at. Yeah. And then go ahead and select like your Python, your C, C++, and your extensions. I probably shouldn't have kicked the Pi off the Wi-Fi yet. Okay, yeah. See how it says error? That's because I kicked it off the Wi-Fi. But we don't need that. We don't care, really. I don't know how Rust is on here. Because this is what I did last night. Maybe if I refresh it one more time. Nope, still thinks Rust is on there. Yeah, there we go. Can't open. Okay. But yeah, let me go ahead and put the Pi back on the internet. So we can just clear this and sudo ifconfig wlan 0 up. Cool. Pi should be back online. And just to make sure, we'll ping google.com. And ooh, temporary failure name resolution. What do you mean? Ping 8.8.8.8. Yeah, it's fine. It's on the internet. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and install Rust, which I highly recommend everyone do, just because I'm a Rust fanboy. I love it. It's amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and install it just to prove that we are up and running. So we just go to rustlang.org. Whoa, performance, reliability, and productivity all in one. Whoa, command line tools, WebAssembly, networking, and embedded device. Whoa, and there's guides for everything. Well, it even has a Yelp review. There's Yelp, and the company that they stole from to make cargo. They didn't actually steal anything, but it was just kind of like, oh yeah, npm is pretty cool. Let's try that. That's how cargo was born. The Rust package manager, and we'll just copy this line of code and paste that back in Pi. Yeah, we're getting Rust, and I'll go ahead and end this video once we get a hello world in Rust. Shouldn't be that much longer from now. You can probably stop if you want to, but yeah, I just really want to get that hello world in Rust. But you can probably do it in Python, C++. I know there's already built-in GCC compiler on the Pi. I think there is. If not, you can just do sudo apt install GCC, and you have your C compiler, or whatever language is your favorite. Also, let me know what language you'd like to use, or if you think Rust is actually a cool language. I would like to know what other people think, because right now I've just been telling people that Rust is awesome. I haven't really been letting them kind of explain if they think it's awesome or not, because none of them have tried it, so they can't really complain. So just wait for these things to download. But in the meantime, I guess we can customize our VS Code server a little bit. I'm using Safari right now just because it looks pretty right now. You can use Brave. I don't know. I recommend Brave for most things. It just doesn't look as pretty as Safari right now. Dismiss, we don't care. So yeah, Python, C++, and then Rust. Just for prettier looking code. And then I don't think this will actually even be able to open this. We could just exit out of this. We could probably exit here. I don't know why it thinks that it can read from this directory, because I don't even think it exists. Yeah, unable to. Yeah, see? Well, we can create the file. Okay. Cool. Or we could just go back into the terminal and create it for us once Rust installs. Sorry if this video is kind of all over the place, but I'm hoping you're enjoying it. You could probably just fast forward, maybe put me at 2 times speed, 3 times speed. I don't care. However many times speed. Probably also should have connected this to Ethernet, but come on. Let's look at the Rust motto real quick. What's the Rust motto? Yeah. That's not it. Oh, no. No, okay, whatever. I was trying to be funny. I was trying. Oh my gosh. Come on. Come on. I probably should have just done it. I'll do a hello world in Python. I'll do that. Fine. I will succumb to the will. Okay, this is no, it needs to file. New file. Open a folder. We'll just make a desktop folder. Sure. Okay. I don't know why it thinks Rust is in desktop. It shouldn't even exist, but whatever. We'll just say Python. And then inside of there, make a file, hello.py. And we'll say print hello world. And I have to add the string. So hello world. And that'll be it. Easiest hello world ever. And we could just, I think it already saves automatically. So we could just do ls. That is strange. We probably have to rename this to Python. Or the .py extension. There we go. Maybe hit command save. Something weird is going on right now. Okay, well, whatever. I'm so sorry. We could probably cut this cut this last part out, but this is basically how you get VS Code running natively on a Raspberry Pi connected to an iPad, the cleanest setup ever. And yeah, that'll be the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for watching and enduring all of my kind of tangent stuff, but I hope you had fun and are able to apply this to your own Raspberry Pi projects, because I know a lot of people own Raspberry Pis, but they do not use Raspberry Pis. I am a victim of this. I own 4, and I am just starting to kind of utilize all of them. So I hope this has kind of helped you take your Pis off the shelf and do something with them. So thank you very much for listening.